Hey everyone. On the most recent Yooka-Laylee episode of The Kongversation, I was very dismissive of the World 2 boss named Breezeblock, especially when it came to his name. Come to find out, my American ignorance precluded me from knowing that it's the British term for a cinder block. Due to not understanding this solid pun, I would like to apologize to Platonic Games, DK Vine forum member Angry Ancestor, and the National Federation of Builders, the UK's largest trade association for construction workers. As punishment for this outrageous atrocity, I will clean my bottom with the Breezeblock following my post-show defecation. Thank you.
At last, I'm finally gonna do it! I'm gonna crawl out of a shark's anus!
Hello and welcome to The Kongversation. I'm Hyle Russell. This week I am joined by yet another special guest that I've pulled from the depths of our very, very shallow social circle. Please welcome to the show, for the first time ever, surprisingly enough, as a guest host, Malik!
Hello everybody. What's going on? How you guys doing? Or as Chad would say it, hey, it's Malik. How's everybody doing out there?
Malik McLeod, by the way. Am I saying your last name right? Because I realized I've never said it out loud.
Yes, you said it right. Like, you're one of the first people to say it right for everyone says like McLeod or McLeod, but it's like McLeod. Like Fox McLeod. That's how I tell people to remember.
Man, I think it's the first Mick that's been on the show since Chad, so it's nice to be with an Irishman, I guess.
Scottish.
Excuse me.
There's Scottish blood in my veins, okay.
well, you have to regale us with your best Warpstone impression in due time here.
Oh, Lord.
Malik, of course, for those of you who know him beyond just calling into the conversation, Malik is best known as TheCartoonGamer. Check out his YouTube channel, TheCartoonGamer. He's also done some Did You Know gamings that he's well known for.
Yes, everybody hates my voice on that channel.
It's all right. People hate my voice too, Malik. You just got to develop a thick skin about this thing. I mean, I hate my own voice more than anybody. So,
come on now.
Doing a podcast every week for the last 4 and almost a half years has definitely given me a thick turtle shell when it comes to tolerating the way I sound.
Well, that's nice, I guess. I mean, if you can't laugh at yourself, I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's nice that you developed a thick skin about it.
The thing is, inside my own head, my voice sounds like Barry White. So, to me, I sound like this. And hello, welcome to the conversation, ladies. But then I hear it back, and it's like, hi guys, it's Hyle Russell, and I want to talk about some Donkey Kong.
No, so, I think it's closer to Barry White. Say, everyone loves Barry White, don't they? He was a nice guy.
He was a nice guy, and now he's dead. So, but we are not going to dwell on the negatives, because we are talking about something I've been looking forward to discussing, and that is World 3 of Yooka-Laylee, which I'm not going to tip my hat, or no, show my hand, or tip my hand.
Toot your horn?
I'm not going to perform self-fellatio on myself.
Oh,
quite
sweet
yet.
Lord.
Welcome to the conversation, Malik. I'm so sorry, but you
wonderful.
Agreed to do this. So
yes, I know. I did.
You said, which world of Yooka-Laylee would you like to discuss? Well, I would like to discuss World 3, Moodymaze Marsh. Okay, well here you are, because we did, we reached out to some people, and some people reached out to us when, deciding who was going to be a guest host on each of these Yooka-Laylee world discussions. And it's funny how many people like have their own preference, their own favorite world. And last time, 2 weeks ago, it was the ACZ who wanted to do Glitter Glaze Glacier. We've got Mitchell Wolf coming up for Capital Casino. World 5 is going to be... This is all tentative, by the way. This could all go out the window. But World 5 is going to be a return appearance of Josh Wallen, a.k.a. the Geek Critique. So
yes, nice.
It's going to be a full roster here. And we might have... I don't know if we're going to do a wrap-up episode after. I'm sure we will. But anyway, expect all of that before E3. It's crunch time here on The Kongversation. But before we get into the meat of Moodymaze Marsh, the nice pumpkin flesh, I do want to bring up something very important for DK Vine, but especially the Kongversation. We have a new hotline number. So let us bid a fond farewell to 1-281-410-KONG. It has been retired. Make a long story short, essentially that number was owned by Chad, and we realized that was one of the few things that couldn't be transferred over to us, and specifically me, because it was tied to his own phone. So because of that, I had to set up a brand new DK Vine hotline. And I've already started promoting it off air, but this is probably going to be the first time most of you hear it. So that number is 1-202-630-VINE. That's 1-202-630-VINE. 8463 is what that numerically spells out. And we need a new jingle, basically. And I thought long and hard about this because the old jingle was so catchy. It was just an earworm that would stick in your head no matter what. And I wanted a jingle that topped that because my only gripe with the old jingle was it didn't rhyme. So for the new jingle, I spent about upwards of 5 days, no sleep, trying to craft my best songmanship. That's not a word. Songmanship. Clearly, you can see why it took me 5 days. But I had rhymezone.com open the whole time, and I think I'm pretty happy with what I got. So
Rhymezone.
All right. Here we go. The debut performance of the new DK Vine hotline jingle.
Here we go.
To reach us by cell or landline, call 1-202-630 and a word.
Are you proud of yourself, Hyle? Are you proud of yourself?
Pretty damn smug right now, yeah. No, 1-202-630-VINE. Please write that down, store it in your phones. Delete the old number. It's a number to nowhere. I do know that some people did call the old number this week. And while we were able to fish those numbers out of the sinking ship that is the SS 1281410 Kong, that's almost to the bottom of the ocean, folks. You can't call that number anymore. Seriously, 1-202-630-VINE. I don't want to tell you this again.
Please don't let him tell you again.
Anyway, it's great. DK Vine Hotline lives on in a new form. It's like when the Doctor regenerates on the Doctor Who show.
That's what happens with him.
It's a new era, yeah. So
it's like when the Ninja Turtles reinvent themselves, I guess.
It's not the same continuity, though. I mean, I guess it's the same Turtles multiverse,
Oh, yeah, right. Multiverse. But Doctor Who is like the same person. It just keeps going and going.
Malik, you're Canadian. You hail all the way from Ontario.
Yes, I do.
But you don't know Doctor Who?
No, I don't. When I hear someone talk about Doctor Who, I go, Doctor Who now?
Oh, that's clever. Who's on first? But because baseball, I don't know if you have that in Canada. Baseball, but
yeah, we do. Our team sucks, from what I've heard.
Yeah, well, I don't know much about baseball, or I watch weird European sports. Here's a little insight into the mind of Hyle. I watch like channels like NBCSN, like just that airs like the European sports that Americans don't care about. And my wife got me into Formula One racing, oddly enough. So I'm like, I'm kind of like into that now. But I'll watch, football, rest of the world football, what we call soccer. I'll watch rugby, just bizarre, and then like bizarre shit they air at 2 a.m. like croquet, and that will be the greatest thing to fall asleep to. It is the most soothing thing in the world. I can't explain it, but yeah, I don't care about the sports that are big here in the United States, like American football. It's
well, that's okay. I know what you're talking about. That stuff is pretty soothing.
Now, I do love every single sport in Mario Sports Superstars. Like
I'm sure you
pony
do.
racing. I love pony racing.
Hey, do you want to play regular baseball with the Mario characters? We got that.
Hey, those really good Mario golf and tennis games? Let's make substandard editions and put them in this compilation.
Yeah, let's just pose them off as new stuff and just cut like 50% of what you can already get. Like just buy the other 3DS games.
Hey, we're gonna make amiibo trading cards for this game, but we're not gonna use any new renders except for the ponies. Every other character's artwork will be repurposed from other games on a slightly blurred background.
They just didn't care.
These Mario Sports Superstar cards, by the way, I realize this is a huge tangent, but it's not like we're gonna do an episode on this game anytime soon. These are a huge bane of contention among the DK Vine staff right now because Cameron Regal hates them because he is the expert when it comes to renders and artwork and which game they come from. He hates them. David Lynch has like a whole bunch of them right now, but yet, he hates them. I've got about 10 or 11 of them right now. 11, including what came with the game, and I fucking hate them. And... And yet, I like Skylanders, I am compelled to buy all of them because I've got to get all the Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong cards.
Oh man, you poor man, you. Like it's not just you guys that hate them. Everybody is like, wait a minute, they're just reusing like renders from like old GameCube games. This is
right.
How lazy can you possibly like? You just put Bowser behind like a soccer net or something like that. I know where this render is from. You're not being clever.
The bad thing is, I think you can get away with it for the most part for the uninitiated, the uneducated when it comes to most of the other Mario characters. But for Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong, they've had such wildly fluctuating designs from the GameCube era on that you can immediately tell what era they came from. And there's no tonal consistency whatsoever. Anyway, oh God. Yes, Mario Sports Superstars.
Still waiting on Strikers 3.
I would just settle for a new golf RPG game, but that's never going to happen. They've like, I don't know what's happened to Camelot, but I feel like Camelot is just kind of at the beck and call of Nintendo, and Nintendo's not making any of the right decisions for them.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, let's get to some due diligence so we can get the Yooka-Laylee discussion. Support DK Vine on Patreon so I can buy more Mario Sports Superstars. I mean, because no. In all seriousness, E3 is coming up, and I do want to provide the best, most polished DK Vine at E3 experience that's been done yet. We've been out there 2 years. The first year kind of overwhelmed us. The second year was still pretty overwhelming. I've got a pretty good idea now of how to handle it, but I'm still, coming up with a game plan. But basically, I want to be your eyes and ears for E3 because I realize if you are deeply ingrained within the DK Vine community, you might have as much limited interest as I do. So I want to be the source you've always dreamed about at E3, giving you just exclusive information. And I mean exclusive as in we'll give you exclusives, but we'll also exclusively cover all rare, Platonic, and Donkey Kong-centric Nintendo news. So that's my goal. I am going to be there with Cameron Regal this year. It's going to be a fun experience. We've got a party house booked. The DK Vine Party House for the entire week, from Saturday night to Thursday, E3, surrounding E3, we have got our own party house, the DK Vine Party House, our own bungalow in downtown Los Angeles. You don't know who's going to show up there. It's going to be wild. And we're going to be bringing you coverage from both the convention center and the DK Vine Party House. So it's going to be an experience. The Patreon helps us fund these ridiculous ventures and adventures. So thank you deeply for all of our patrons, from those of you who have been with us to the beginning to those of you who have just joined recently. Those of you who have stuck with us, it really does mean so much. And to thank you, we are going to be improving the Patreon rewards over the next week or two. We are going to be retiring some of the old higher tiered rewards and milestones that quite frankly suck. And we are going to be bringing in some refined new rewards that hopefully a lot more people will want. And so we're coming up with a plan for that as well, trying to get that set up well before E3. Time is a ticking, though, so we've got too much on our plates, as usual, including getting the last episode of the DK Vine Hall of Fame 2016 up.
Oh, yeah. Where'd that go?
Oh, it's coming. It will be an experience. That's all I can say. This is... I am privy to what it entails, and it is definitely going to be worth it. So, we're working on that. We've got other video projects we're working on, and we got to work on the Patreon and get E3 all ready to go. In addition to everything else, like our social media presence. So, follow DK Vine on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr. Sometimes Instagram. It's the Y of our social media accounts. And, but I am running the Facebook. I am temporarily manning the Twitter. So, two fists in it right now. And it's, gets down and dirty. And, but the thing is, even though I am running both of our main social media accounts right now, I am not doubling up on content, so you will get exclusive content on Twitter and Facebook. So it will behoove you to follow us on both. And yeah, that's dkvine.com/Facebook, dkvine.com/Twitter, dkvine.com/Tumblr, probably dkvine.com/Instagram, but it's been a while since I've checked it.
Half of this conversation is just going to be me laughing at all of your jokes.
That's all right. I'm a one-man hype machine. I got to keep going. dkvine.com/YouTube. I already mentioned all the YouTube videos we have coming. Well, you better subscribe to us on YouTube then, shouldn't you? Yes.
Yeah, they're really good, guys. Take it from me. I've been looking at these things.
Also, while you're there, subscribe to the Cartoon Gamer. Is it 8,000?
It is an 8,000. You don't need to say the 8,000. I sort of kind of not dropped the 8,000.
Okay. See, I like the 8,000 because it's like you're the Cartoon Gamer of the future, but not just like the immediate future, like how everybody will, put 2,000 at the end of their name back in the 90s. No, you're the Cartoon Gamer of
like
close
way
to
past
8,000
Futurama.
years. Yeah, 7,000 887. Yeah,
we'll be long dead after that. So we don't even need to do the math. It doesn't even matter.
Speak for yourself, man. I plan to be a head in a jar or something. Somebody's got to keep DK Vine rolling, and quite frankly, I don't trust my descendants to do the job right. I mean, what if I disagree with a continuity interpretation they come up with? I will have to haunt them. And
that's true.
And that sounds exhausting. So I'm just going to have to stay alive for as long as I can. I say that as I'm drinking an Angry Orchard hard cider, which I'm drinking this because there's kind of a autumn theme to the world that we're discussing. So I was like, I'll have a hard cider. It's autumn for one day only.
It's autumn somewhere.
I mean, technically, yeah, in Australia, but...
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's...
South
no
America,
wonder they're upside down. It's like it's winter when it's summer here, and the toilets, they go counterclockwise. They are upside down, aren't they?
We have so many Australians in our circle here on DK Vine, too. So I feel bad always excluding them from my frame of reference. But, the rare archipelago...
Like
yeah, the rare archipelago is mostly in the northern hemisphere, including the faraway lands, which are definitely in the southern hemisphere. But I feel like I'm already losing you, Malik, so I better keep this rolling. Subscribe to The Kongversation on iTunes, rate us on iTunes, and don't forget to hashtag bring back the spiders. One other bit of due diligence. One other bit of due diligence I want to get to before we actually get to the episode. For once, I'm not being selfish with due diligence. I want to promote something that Robin Beanland is doing for charity. So, Robin Beanland, famed rare composer of the Conquer series, some Nuts and Bolts. He also did Killer Instinct. He also is, of course, doing Sea of Thieves, doing some brilliant tracks for Sea of Thieves. But Robin Beanland, brilliant composer, all-around great guy, will be bicycling across the entire length of Britain this September for 9 straight days. And he's doing this for
wow.
charity. Yeah, so now I normally can't abide to share the road with bikers. But that's probably because they're so rude about it here in the United States. I'm sure they're much more polite about it over in the old UK. So, since Robin Beanland's a great guy and it's for a good cause, then I am glad he's bicycling across Britain. And the group he's doing it for is called Special Effect, and they use video games and technology to improve the lives of the disabled, which I think as geeks is something we can all get behind. So, if you have a bit of money lying around that you can spare, check out his Just Giving page at justgiving.com, and then just simply search Robin Beanland in the search bar, and he'll come right up. And I think it's great that he's doing this. I am a bit worried about him. 9 days of straight biking across the entire country. I am worried he's going to get hit by a car, so stay safe, Robin. We need you to complete Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, if anything, Sea of Thieves.
Yes, and your own well-being second.
Yeah, of course.
So,
that works too.
Yeah, justgiving.com and then search for Robin Beanland. All right. All that out of the way, Malik. Here we are.
Yes, finally.
So, Yooka-Laylee. Now, since this is your first time on the show as a guest host, it's been a long time coming, actually. You know, it's been wanting.
All those calls led up to something.
Well, it's funny when you look at the history of the conversation and how many people started calling in and later wormed their way into either some sort of permanence of a guest hosting gig or just have appeared on the show from time to time. For example, Nick started off, he called into the show. Mm-hmm. And like way back in the early days. And eventually from there, he joined the staff. Actually, I forgot he called into the show at first. He approached us about doing cartoons, and we love them. So we brought him on there, and then we made him a full-time staffer after that. And then he started guest hosting on the show, and so that's how Nick got his start. But we've also had people like Mitchell Wolf, who have been on the show numerous times. Last Yooka-Laylee episode 2 weeks ago, ACZ was a caller. Of course, there's Mamechi and Scraps, who have also guest hosted through dubious means. And, always wanted to have you on the show, Malik, and I'm glad you're finally here, so welcome.
Oh, thank you. I've always wanted to be on the show, but I didn't want to impose in any way, so I think this was the perfect time.
Cameron Regal brought up a good point, though. It's funny how the most relentlessly chipper and upbeat caller on the conversation is guest hosting one of the moodiest worlds in Yooka-Laylee. So,
oh yeah, that's like irony, isn't it?
It helps balance it out. It's the yin and the yang, you know.
Yeah. We'll make this chipper because we have a lot of good things to say about this place. It's not all doom and gloom.
Well, okay, so I'm really going into this cold as far as your opinions on Yooka-Laylee. I realize opinions are mixed, but without giving any spoilers beyond World 3, I kind of want you, first of all, to give your overall opinions on the game so listeners are familiar with your stance on it.
Well, okay. So if you hadn't seen it, I did do a review of it. You probably didn't see it because you want to stay spoiler free.
Yes,
doesn't have any spoilers in it, but
I'm fully intending to watch it, but I was afraid of spoilers, so I just kind of stayed away.
Yeah, it does show footage of the other worlds, but I don't go into like heavy stuff like final boss and stuff. I just say that I just gave my overall thoughts on the game, and I'll sort of regurgitate them over here. Overall, I did think that the game was pretty good. It had some flaws to it, and I mean, every game has flaws, but I kind of looked past them because the good did outweigh the bad. There were a couple of infuriating moments, but they were like few and far between. The camera could get a little weird and janky in some places, but for the most part it worked. And yeah, I just had a good time with it, even though there were a lot of parts that infuriated me for one reason or another, like Gloomy Gem Grotto in Glitter Glaze Glacier. I did not like that.
Oh,
just
no!
I was trying to get through that thing for like a good 15 minutes because the ice is so slippery and you just have to try and get through the cave, and then the power meter would get drained, or the glow effect, if you eat the little glowy fruit thing, the effect would just go away and then you'd be left in the dark, and one of those things would run out, or both of them at the same time, and then you would have no idea. You wouldn't be able to get past there. And then when I managed to get to like solid ground, those big orange corplet guys, they killed me. And then I had to do it all over again. And I was getting so angry because I couldn't see what was in front of me.
See, Gloomy Gem Grotto is probably my favorite part of World 2.
What?
And World 2 has been my least favorite so far, but I love Gloomy Gem Grotto. It's
I like the look of
manna
it, but
from heaven.
Navigating through that thing was not fun for me.
Oh,
Some people had an easier time with it, but
yeah, for me, it was one of those things where I got a little bit better each time, and it was very rewarding as far as my skill level, like getting better and knowing like what was coming up ahead and, you know, being ready for it. Yeah, I mean, it could get frustrating, but it kind of hit the sweet spot in my brain, in the lizard center of my brain, that just remembered all those rare challenges where it was like it was more of a classic DKC minecart track than even the Kartos tracks are, in that you kind of have to memorize what's about to happen, and then your muscle memory will start kicking in and you can just zoom through. But Gloomy Gem Grotto, man, it's beautiful. I love it. I've had dreams about it in the last couple days. Honestly, at least once a night I'll dream I'm in Gloomy Gem Grotto as me myself, Hyle Russell, just in this weird crystalline cavern cave with all these glowing gemstones. So. Yeah, sorry, man. Anyway,
that's all right.
I rushed to the defense of Gloomy Gem Grotto, but I didn't let you finish your thoughts, so I will lay down my mic and have a sip of this delicious Angry Orchard, which, by the way, to make it more conversation friendly, I am pouring a bit of Mountain Dew Code Red into it, so we will see what that tastes like.
I thought you were going to say Mountain Dew Baja Blast, but okay. But
it's not available right now. It's not on store. I don't think they're bringing it back this year, and that pisses me off because it lost the election last year, the democracy vote between it and Pitch Black. It lost the election to Pitch Black, which I'm blaming Putin for that one too. And I am just heartbroken because for the last few years, summer was announced by the arrival of Mountain Dew Baja Blast, and now, sadly, it is nowhere to be seen.
There's no summer this year.
The summer that never came.
It's like 6 more weeks to spring.
I love spring, though, so that's fine. Anyway.
Yeah, me too. But anyway, my overall thoughts on the game, I think that Playtonic really did deliver on their promise of a 3D platforming adventure. Like, I knew those guys were all about quality, and I wasn't expecting like this big like magnum opus of a game, if I can say that. You know what I mean?
No, exactly.
I was just expecting like here's a fun little passion project, but we're gonna put our heart and soul into it. But I knew that like when it came to budgetary things and stuff. It doesn't have the same budget as Banjo-Kazooie, because like Banjo-Kazooie had the kind of budget where you could completely turn the game into another kind of genre, and Nintendo was completely okay with that. But Yooka-Laylee is just...
They reworked Banjo-Kazooie like 2 times over, so...
And it still managed to be a good game in the end, which is crazy. And it's still pretty crazy that Playtonic managed to get Yooka-Laylee out at such a decent time, considering that Rare likes to really take their time with their games. And then it's like, oh, hey, Conker is out. Sorry, it's rated M now.
Yeah, and I think the scope, the grand scale has been what's actually disappointing people the most. I had my expectations in check, I think, from the beginning, and that's why when I finally played Yooka-Laylee, I was like, well, this is exactly what I thought this was going to be, and this is great. I love it. But I can see why people who thought maybe it was going to completely reinvent the 3D platformer, as if the 3D platformer never went away and it had a decade plus of evolution on top of it.
Yeah.
I could see why people would be upset, but no, they didn't have the budget, and they just made this in Unity, and that's fine. I love it. Yeah, there are a few hinky spots. As I mentioned, in Glitter Glaze Glacier, the game froze on me twice.
How appropriate that it froze on you in the ice world.
Yes. It hasn't happened in Moodymaze Marsh, so maybe that was just intentional, and I'm missing the meta humor of it. There are a few times when some of the objects will just randomly start floating in the air. I don't know if you ever encountered that. Where
No.
a barrel or like one of the it's the objects that the googly eyes attach to. And sometimes when you're at a distance, you'll see that they're floating in air, and then they'll drop as you get closer. So I don't know what that's all about.
There was one time where I saw a Pagey like far away, but it was static. But then I moved like a little bit closer, then it starts animating. So maybe that's the same kind of thing that you were having.
I think that's an effective Unity. I don't know. Yeah, but you know what? For one thing, they are doing a patch for a lot of the minor complaints that gamers have had, including skipping through dialogue faster, and also they're tweaking the camera to make it more kinetic. So hopefully that will be a plus for those of you who have had issues with it. Hopefully by the time it comes out for the Switch, those issues are going to be smoothed over completely. And then, because I feel like so many people are holding out for the Switch version, because this is really a game that's made for the people who never followed Rare over to Microsoft. And those lapsed Nintendo fans who tried to write off Rare because it was easier than buying a new system. And as much as I have a philosophical issue with that, I do hope they love Yooka-Laylee, and I hope Playtonic gets the due they deserve, because I think the critical slagging it took is unfair greatly. But
yeah, it really is. I really hope that people, like, for as many reviews as they may see coming into the game, just to see where everybody stands, I hope they don't take everybody's opinion as fact. You know what I mean? Even mine.
I think they've got pretty thick skins, like me. That they have a tortoise shell. And I hope they do, at least, because they do deserve accolades for this. This is exactly what they promised to the faithful. And I think they delivered tenfold. And I really started feeling that in Moodymaze Marsh, because in my opinion, and granted, I am very deliberately pacing myself to keep in line with these Kongversation recordings. So I'm trying not to play ahead. Basically, I have just wrapped up more or less World 3. I still have some things I need to do, but enough where I can get a solid perspective on it. Mm-hmm. And in my opinion, this is the best world. It's my favorite world so far. I love Tribal Stack Tropics, but I can recognize some of the flaws there. Glitter Glaze Glacier, there are a lot of fun bits, like Gloomy Gem Grotto, but all in all, Gloomy Gem Grotto it didn't feel like it was that. Something was missing at the heart of Glitter Glaze Glacier, excuse me. Yeah, Glitter Glaze Glacier. Something was missing at the heart of it. So many alliterative worlds and location names, and I'm starting to lose track of what is which. So, Glitter Glaze Glacier, Gloomy Gem Grotto, Moodymaze Marsh, Tribal Stack Tropics. Okay. So, Hyrule Towers is easy because there is no alliteration there. So, anyway, but yeah, Glitter Glaze Glacier just it was missing something, and while I still had a good time, I think the whole isometric palace thing never really worked for me. It felt more like a chore than anything. And while I applaud that they tried something new, I think therein lies the danger of veering too far from the formula, the 3D platformer formula that was promised.
Yeah, like when Yooka-Laylee does platforming, like its main focus, it's really, really good. And when things start to veer off into different directions, it starts to lose its sense of direction. Like there are good ways to do it. Like Banjo-Tooie had like mini games and stuff like that, and those were fun too. But it was a little weird in Yooka-Laylee.
Yeah, and there are parts where it absolutely works for me, but it's in moderation. When you have the entire back half of the second world, this weird kind of...
This weird a tick-attack thing where every single space is like, woo, woo, woo.
It was a tribute to like the Spectrum days, the Ultimate Play the Game days, and that didn't really work that much for me. Although maybe it will make me better when replaying those games in Rare Replay. I don't know. But
well, since they're so like different, like since a tick attack is like just so quick with the transitions, you may get a bit of like whiplash, but it'll keep you on edge, I guess.
Mm-hmm. But Moodymaze Marsh was just a breath of fresh air after that, and this is a world that I was basically grinning and laughing and having such a good time, and I love it. This is exactly what I was hoping for with Yooka-Laylee, and where Tribal Stack Tropics I loved, but recognized it had some faults. Glitter Glaze Glacier didn't work in totality for me. Moodymaze Marsh, I think every spot just hit perfectly, and I mean, you obviously wanted to be on this episode, so I'm sure you agree.
Oh, yeah. Like, just, I didn't know about this world beforehand when I was playing Yooka-Laylee for the first time, so it came as a real surprise to me, like, entering the world, like, the little entrance area, it was, like, completely flooded, and I was like, oh, what's going on here? Like, am I gonna enter, like, some kind of water world? And then I see it's, like, this dark, like, spooky green marsh. Everything has this, like, green hue to it, and just everything is glowing with the beautiful like swamp lights and mushrooms. I was like, I think I'm gonna like this place. And everything was just condensed, like it wasn't spread out so much. It was like the perfect size. I really liked how this world was constructed.
It was constructed like a Banjo-Kazooie world. They didn't try to reinvent the formula, and they didn't try to do overkill. This felt like a Banjo-Kazooie world more than a Banjo-Tooie world, and whatever it was that the first two worlds of Yooka-Laylee were trying to attempt. Which, again, I liked them, but this felt like a homecoming of sorts.
Yeah, and even when fully expanded, it felt like a Banjo-Kazooie level.
It never felt like there was bloat. And it felt like everything was logically laid out, and I
never got lost.
I got lost initially, as you should do in these worlds. Like, you're not going to figure it out immediately, but I feel like it didn't take me long to get the lay of the land, and learning the Lizard Lash definitely helped navigate in due time. But before we actually get into our favorite bits, I do want to compare it, because this is a game I like to play, and I've done this in the first two episodes of the actual world discussions. Mm-hmm. So the Swamp World is well-traveled in Rare games, but it's still fairly underutilized as an archetype compared to some of the other go-to favorites. And I was looking back at some of the other Swamp Worlds, and for 3D platformers, there's really nothing to compare it to. So I had to go back to some of the I guess there is one, of course, the big one, but
the one.
To complement that, I had to go back to the 2D games of the SNES and the Game Boy family. So, of course, there is Krem Key, not Krem Kwai, Krem Key from Donkey Kong Country 2, and, of course, Krem Cauldron from Donkey Kong Land 2. And that was what I think of when I think of a rare swamp world. It's what my mind goes back to. It's just this dark bayou. It's kind of overgrown,
kind of
murky. You've got some like just trash floating in it.
Everything's greenish brown.
Yeah, and it's got that kind of moodiness too that really helped set the stage much more so than a Crocodile Cauldron as to the feel of Crocodile Isle. And so I think about that, but of course when you're talking about 3D platformers, you think Bubble Gloop Swamp from Banjo-Kazooie,
which is like a completely like a tonal shift. Like Bubble Gloop Swamp is all happy-go-lucky compared to Moodymaze Marsh, which is a bit moodier, I guess.
Well, but as far as the Banjo-Kazooie worlds, I think it's one of the least happy-go-lucky worlds in Banjo-Kazooie. I mean, it's not like...
But that music is like, it's so happy sounding. Like every time I hear it, I feel like I just want to like bounce around.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying it's a German expressionless film or anything, but it's... compared to something like Treasure Trove Cove or Momo's Mountain, it's a little bit more dour. But Bubble Gloop Swamp, I mean, it's mostly known for the piranha water or whatever it is, where you can't get in the water unless you're in the wading boots and just hopping from one platform to another. And while Moodymaze Marsh utilizes kind of that mentality, in this case, the thick swamp water that hurts you somehow. Not quite clear how. It's supposed to be toxic.
It's just really dirty.
Yeah. But maybe because Yooka is a lizard and Laylee is a bat, it just affects their skin like an oil spill would. I don't know. But
yeah, it's like they're not native to this area, so...
Mm-hmm. But, you had more, I think, land to traverse in Moodymaze Marsh than you did Bubble Gloop Swamp. There was definitely more of a chance to stretch your legs.
Yeah.
Now, granted, there's the transformation, and there's, other means to get around Bubble Gloop Swamp that lets you kind of explore it a little bit more, but whatever. There's also, of course, real quick, Claw Swamp and Conker's Pocket Tales and Bad Magic Bayou in Grunny's Revenge. And actually, as far as the feel of the worlds, Moodymaze Marsh, I think, most closely resembles Bad Magic Bayou. Because have you played Grunny's Revenge?
No, I have not.
My God, Malik.
I'm terrible, I know.
Like half the references on the Kongversation center around Grunny's Revenge, Conker's Pocket Tales, It's Mr. Pants. I feel like the more obscure Game Boy title it is, the more we will reference it.
I have Banjo Pilot on my shelf right now, but that's pretty much it.
Banjo Pilot's like the worst out of that whole lineup. I mean,
I had fun.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't unplayable. It was fun. It was solid, but it just didn't excel like you expect these rare titles to do. It was just. I feel like they kind of threw up their hands with that one after the voxel version crashed and burned. And it was like, oh, just finish it.
So just get this out the door, man. We need to just put this down.
But Bad Magic Bayou, in the plot of Granny's Revenge, is you time travel back to 1978, and you have to rescue Kazooie from a time traveling Gruntilda. But you also kind of get a firsthand glimpse of Banjo-Kazooie history, and in this case, it was Gruntilda's moving into Spiral Mountain. She's building Grunny's lair, and she's kind of building up her ranks as far as her army goes. So what Bad Magic Bayou was the laboratory that Klungo used to create the gruntlings and other minions that Grunny utilizes. And then you have a training ground for them so they can be adequate soldiers. So you had like a drill sergeant, and so the implication was that you had like this weird alchemy of science and black magic to create these monsters, and so Bad Magic Bayou was all about that. And it was like took place during a lightning storm, so you had like thunder and lightning, and the transformation was you were a candle, and you had to like explore this dilapidated mansion where Klungo was keeping his laboratory. So it was pretty cool, and Grunny's Revenge is worth it if you're in any way interested in Banjo-Kazooie lore, because it contributed so much world building to that series. But that's what Moodymaze Marsh most reminds me of. I should also point out too that there are vaguely swamp-like areas in Sea of Thieves, but that's kind of cheating, so I won't go that far.
Don't be a cheater, pumpkin eater. Are we going to segue into pumpkins now?
We might as well talk about some pumpkins. First of all, because the pumpkin is the first thing I noticed when I was looking for this world. A lot of people have complained, and I was starting to feel like I was an inadequate gamer because I could not figure out where the entrance to this world was. I thought... No? Well, okay, because I just assumed that there was going to be one world per floor of Hyrule Towers. So, second world, had second floor, had Glitter Glaze Glacier. So I thought from there you just progress onwards. And there was taking a right out of the Grand Tome that housed a Glitter Glaze Glacier. You went up the long hill with the sticky move. The where Yooka becomes sticky, and you go up there, but that was just a pagey, and I thought for sure like the entrance would be up there, so I was like, okay, well there's a door down this tunnel past Vendy. I can't figure out how to open that yet. Okay, I maybe I can't get in there yet. Okay, where is the entrance to this world? So, and part of me was like, is it back in the Waterworks area that I explored? No, it's probably not in the water. I don't know why my brain was just outright dismissing this possibility. But yeah, eventually I started exploring the waterworks a bit more. And I saw, like, in the corner, the terrain looks a little bit different up there. It looks like there's vines. Or are they brambles? Or what are they? And then I saw a jack-o'-lantern. And I was like, what is that? Is that the entrance to the next world? Because like you, I did not know what World 3 was. Platonic promoted Tribal Sack Tropics, Glitter Glaze Glacier, and Capital Casino, but the other worlds, they kind of kept a secret.
Yeah.
And I knew Capital Casino was World 4, so I didn't know what World 3 was, so I didn't even know what to look for. And I was like, oh, this must be it. Okay, is it a Halloween-themed world? What is this?
It was like, are we going to get into some Mad Monster Mansion type nonsense here, or what? And did you notice that pagey that was like in that area that was like locked behind a door? Like right, I think he's in that area. Like he said, he's locked behind a door, and then
he's starving.
Yeah, he's starving. I burst out laughing.
Yeah, and then
like,
there was
someone help me.
I
decided to leave.
The pagey right near him in a cage that when you free him, he then thinks you're a corplet and he runs from you, and you have to chase him around the waterworks.
Yeah, and then he says, like, you've not seen the last of Crazy Kirkhope, I believe?
Yeah, is that an indication that he has a name? That singular page in this the one book has a name?
Oh no, we're gonna make some lore about this guy, aren't we?
Because the Jiggies, as far as the Jiggies go, we only ever had a Jiggy refer to himself as Mr. Jiggy, right? Good, you know that. That's good.
Oh yeah.
So
I know my stuff. Otto the
I
Orange
was,
for life.
Yeah. I was wondering, oh my God, wait, if each page has their own name, first of all, how would that even work? Like, from pure practical sense that these are all pages in a book. but that's just a nightmare as far as, do we have to name every pagey? And are we going to have to name them after rare alum and like...
Well, there's 145 pages, so like I can only think of like 20 rare people off the top of my head, so that would be quite an ordeal.
We should do it. I mean,
I think you can.
You start with everybody who contributed to Platonic, and then you go into rare employees. Yeah, that would be fun. Crazy, and they'd all have to be alliterative too. So Crazy Kirkhope sense at the precedent. Yeah.
That's where things would get a bit tough, because how many...
Luscious Love Day?
Well, of course. That's an easy one.
Anyway, so finding this world, it was a challenge for me. I guess it wasn't a challenge for you. I guess you just kind of figured it out easily.
I just went through the motions, and then I eventually found it. I don't recall ever having like a hard time trying to find the place, but yeah, I was just as surprised as you when I found out that it was some weird swamp level, like I said.
Yeah, the vague Halloween theme is just that. It's pretty vague. Besides the pumpkins, the jack-o'-lanterns, there's really nothing.
Sure. I'm not sure why the pumpkins are really there, so to speak, and they kind of just seem placed there, you know? Like there's no swamp foliage like covering them or anything. They're just like right there.
I like how the ones that the googly eyes don't attach to and the ones who don't talk to you as characters, they just follow you around. Like,
yeah, I like that. It's like, ooh, spooky.
Slightly
kinda.
Creepy.
It's like, are they going to lash out at you?
Here's my theory, okay? This is my crazy theory. So, I'm not sure why there are pumpkins in the swamp, but I assume it's this vague, like, spooky thing, whatever. But the Grand Tomes...
Ooh, spooky, we're scary.
The Grand Tomes, we don't know much about them, but... For me, Moodymaze Marsh sounds a bit like a Goosebumps book, like an R.L. Stein book. Uh-huh. So maybe Moodymaze Marsh was like this book, this like light elementary school horror book for kids. And so, it's pumpkins that come to life in a swamp out back from Grandpa and Grandma's farm. Something like that. Like the Scarecrow walks at midnight. Goosebumps number 20. I remember that one.
Ooh. I like Say Cheese and Die. That's not a level coming up in Yooka-Laylee, by the way. So no need to worry about that.
Yeah, when I was writing Elvis and Slick Money, I wanted to... One cut bit in one of the episodes that didn't ever make it was... Elvis was reading a Goosebumps book. It was Say Cheese and Die. And Slick Monty would come into the room and like startle him, and he would throw the book out the window. I Love Lucy. Which, wasn't she reading like something like To Kill a Mockingbird? We've discussed this on air before, but it was like something that you should not be scared when reading. So anyway.
But Goosebumps give you goosebumps. I mean, they did their job, right? It's like To Kill a Mockingbird, they're not trying to tell you, hey, you see that mockingbird out in your backyard? Just get rid of it. Do away with it.
When I was young, yeah, some Goosebumps creeped me out just a bit. I mean, it was basically like horror that never really stuck with you in any bad way. Like, you never walked away from a Goosebumps book feeling like the world made less sense and there was existential nightmares resting behind every curtain and around every corner. So... Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, that's my theory.
Scared me, though.
My theory on what the concept of Moodymaze Marsh is, because Tribal Stack Tropics is like some sort of weird Pandora type environment, so some sort of like fantasy adventure book. Glitter Glaze Glacier is a fairy tale, a la a Disney Frozen type thing. The Ice Princess or Ice Queen or Snow Queen, something like that. Whatever Frozen was loosely based on.
Yeah, something like that. The Snow Queen.
And then Moodymaze Marsh is an R.L. Stein-esque kids book.
It's like, have you found the area where you just hear the Goosebumps theme just straight up playing in the background? Do 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 do.
Then you see it just hanging on the wall is R.L. Stein's picture that was in the back of every Goosebumps book, and you were just like, "Wow, he's not a good looking man, is he?" R.L. Stein. That's the true. That was the true shock at the end of every Goosebumps book was his picture.
That's why I write books.
Don't worry, I have a voice for radio. a voice that I hate. So
I got a great face for radio. I'll tell you that.
yeah,
much.
that's what I meant. Like I have a voice for radio, but I don't have the face to be a TV personality. That's why I never made it out in Hollywood. All right, well,
this hits too close to home, man. Self-deprecation, the best kind.
Yeah, it doesn't screw you up at all. Yeah. What? But we'll get into the world now. I promise. We're not just going to be talking about why there are pumpkins. But
bring back the pumpkins.
Let's start with the 2 moves that Trowser teaches you in Moodymaze Marsh. Because for me, okay, the whole, like, you learn moves, and then it helps put into context what the hell was happening in earlier worlds that you just could not figure out. That is one element of Yooka-Laylee that I like. I like, try to intellectually like at least, but the linear progression OCD center of my brain just can't accept. It's this weird bifurcation where, oh yes, I really want to like that. That is interesting the way they did that. But I'm not clean. It's not clean. I must be clean. But Lizard Lash and Sonar Explosion, especially Lizard Lash, helped clear up a lot of
roadblocks,
befuddlement
like that.
I had. Yeah. And I love the Lizard Lash. For those of you who forget, the Lizard Lash is the move where Yuka, uses his tongue to basically a Yoshi tongue effect, but you do a Batman grapple hook effect where you can grapple hook from point to point. What's he grappling off of? It looks like security cameras.
It looks like this weird like statue face thing, and like when he does it, it was like really jarring. I remember the first time doing it, I was like, okay, like, I'm over here now. Well, okay.
Yeah, well, and there's the ones that you attach to, and you have to move the large crates back. And then there are the ones that just fling you through the air.
Yeah.
Up to a higher platform.
A little weird. Like, the transition between, like, getting onto the thing is, like, the camera, it can't keep up with, like, the speed sometimes. So it gets a little jittery in those places.
One thing I like, though, about the Lizard Lash is, and this is something that really reveals the beauty of how they've designed Yooka-Laylee, because Banjo, I love the character Banjo. Mm-hmm. And I think he probably does have more personality than Yooka, but Banjo's attacks and moves really have no relation to him being a bear. He is essentially a human who looks like a bear, while all of Yuka's moves and Laylee's moves revolve around what they are. And that shows a lot of, I think, growth for the team who made this game, where they could like learn from what they did, and when designing these characters from the ground up, they could build the moves around what their species was.
Yeah, I like that too. I mean, Banjo did used to have the claw swipe move, but
well, that's just punching, though. I mean, that's cheating.
But he was like swiping. He had a swiping animation, but I mean, it didn't even do a lot. But I mean, I guess since Banjo does stand up on 2 legs, and bears have been known to do that sometimes, so I guess that's okay.
They gave him the hibernation move in Tui that let him restore his health.
Yeah, and as we all know, bears can just take a backpack and smack it at you, just slug you with one. So I think that's pretty accurate too. Why not?
I love Banjo, and I love the Kongs, but like for the most part, most of the moves they do don't really relate to what they are. So Conquer basically is the same. So I mean, he has the tail flutter, helicopter spin, but that's essentially Dixie and Tails from Sonic the Hedgehog. So
you haven't seen the squirrels up here. Sometimes they just pull out a rifle for no good reason.
Yeah, well, at least you guys have quality health insurance.
Yeah, so if anyone gets shot, no big deal.
Yeah, here you get shot by a squirrel. That's a pre-existing condition, man. Anyway, yeah, so the Lizard Lash I loved. It's like Batman, but it utilizes his lizard tongue, and yeah, it's a lot of fun to just do the move. Like, it's fun, even though I know I've been up on a platform. Sometimes I can't help myself. I just want to jump up there. It's a lot of fun. The sonar explosion, on the other hand, is wow. I was surprised the first time I unleashed this, just how sudden and deafening it is, and it seems a lot more violent at first than it actually reveals itself to be, because there are still some things it really isn't good for. But
yeah, and it's kind of inconsistent with that too. Like sometimes it'll break like a block, some other times it won't.
Yeah, and I do have a little issue with that, because there's a part in Moodymaze Marsh where you have a glass that is cracked, and you're like, oh, well, I know what to do here, and you can't.
No, you don't.
Yeah, and I'm just like, but Trouser told me when I bought the move not to stand next to glass. I mean, they set it up for this move, and it doesn't work. So there's some bait and switch there, but
I'll teach
I like
you to
this
trust
move.
Trouser 100%.
That's true. I guess
he is shady.
supposed
Remember that.
to be an untrustworthy character, right? But yeah, I thought that the two new moves here were solid. So far, I'm loving all the moves that you learn in this game, really. And I can't wait to go back and backtrack and figure out, which moves I need to, get some of the pages I left behind. So, but let's get into the characters of Moodymaze Marsh. Both the returning characters and the new ones. And obviously I'm not going to go over, Vendy came back in this world. Let's talk about Vendy in this world.
Yeah, really for 3 hours.
Yeah, granted, this is the conversation, so you think I can't do that. I can do that. Trust me. We just did a whole episode about Donkey Kong joke book with 28 jokes in it, so 28-ish jokes. So.
That was bananas, man.
Yeah, a lot of people went bananas for that episode. including Al Sharpon, but
sweet lord.
So as far as characters that came back from previous worlds that aren't like vendors or the usual, there was Clara. She was back, and
I like
Planker.
Clara.
I really do like Clara. I was surprised to see her back in Glitter Glacier. A little bit disappointed that it wasn't like an original character for that world, but as World 3 came around, I was expecting her, and I was glad to see her, and I like how she just carries on. I assume she got her flesh burned off in Tribal Stack Tropics, so I like how she's just persevering, and she's going from Grand Tome to Grand Tome, and not letting that get her down.
I have this theory, well, my brother has this theory that Clara is like Saberman's daughter.
That would be really cool. Yeah. Of course, that would imply Saberman has had intercourse at some point.
Well, I mean, who's to say he didn't, right? He's
pretty
old.
He could have also just went to a sperm bank. He could have needed a quick buck once he got unfrozen. Actually, that might be plausible. He needed a quick buck because when he was unfrozen after, 26 years?
Yeah.
He had to, make some quick cash, so he went to the Isle of Hag sperm bank and pulled a tip-top suite.
I knew you were going to do that. Don't let him say tip-top sweet. Don't let him say tip-top sweet.
Revenge. If you play Granny's Revenge, you'll appreciate the reference so much more.
Will I?
he filled up a couple milk cartons. Excuse me, you have bags in Canada. He filled up a few milk bags.
Yeah, milk bags. It's like, what's a carton? What the heck is that?
I like how you're disgusted by the mention of a milk carton rather than the act of what Saberman was doing to the carton.
Yeah, plastic is better. Plastic is the way to go.
Plastic is the resource of the future.
Absolutely. It's recyclable, don't you know? Especially milk bags.
Milk cartons, we've got both the cardboard cartons and we've got the plastic milk jugs, so...
Yeah, those ones are weird. Those ones I hardly ever see.
But I just buy almond milk, so mine are in the cardboard containers. I would drink almond milk out of a bag, though. Don't get me wrong. I would do it.
No, they got almond milk in cartons up here too.
Oh, you know, okay.
Those are nice. The vanilla ones are good.
Settle this one. Do they have almond milk in bags, or is it just only come in cartons?
It only comes in cartons.
God damn, because I wanted to go to Canada and buy almond milk in bags, and I'd probably be in contraband, so I couldn't bring it back, so I'd have to finish it there. But
because we put stuff in that carton, in that almond milk. Like I usually get vanilla, and it's really cool. And it's like if I ever run out of regular milk, there's usually almond milk that holds me over until we get regular milk again. It's nice.
I can't really do all regular milk. Well, I mean, I'm not a vegan, but I try to limit my consumption of things like just milk. But with my irritable bowel syndrome and slight lactose intolerance, regular milk is basically a no-go unless it's in ice cream or cheese. And even then, that's me rolling the dice.
Well, sometimes you got to gamble.
What are we talking about? Yooka-Laylee? Moodymaze Marsh?
Not Capital Casino. The Swamp World, right. Yeah, that was a bad segue.
Oh, right. Saberman filling... Okay. So, yeah, the math would add up because Clara would be... she'd be turning 17 soon. So, I could see that. That would be some appropriate fanon.
Or inappropriate fanon, depending on where you're coming from.
Well, I know where Saberman was coming from.
Oh!
I gotta say, as much as I'm happy to see Clara, for some reason, Planker just pisses me off. I
you
don't know.
Like Planker?
And I don't know why that is, because he's a perfect... I think it's because he's a signpost, but he's not really a signpost, because there's nothing on him that's like a sign. And I don't know why he goes from Grand Tome to Grand Tome.
Yeah.
It's something about, like, I can accept, like, for example, Birdie the Scarecrow. Speaking of Scarecrows coming alive, a la Goosebumps number 20.
Yeah.
I can accept Birdie, like, hopping around. That's fine for some reason. But Planker, it just bugs me for some reason.
Aw. I kind of like Planker, like how he just pops up everywhere and he's just not happy to see you and he doesn't even remember who you are.
He doesn't remember, and he always like mistakes you for some sort of traveling salesman or door-to-door vendor or something. Yeah. I don't know. I could do... I would have preferred if it was a family of signs in each world, like they're all related and they all suffered from the same dementia, but...
And they all hated you.
Yeah.
It's like, my father told me about you.
I think that's my issue with them reusing so many characters, and I'm excluding Clara because she has won me over completely, and I love her. But not in any, like, she is my what do they call it when like dudes who are really into anime like are romantically interested in a fictional character? What's that term called?
It's
waifu?
called your waifu.
Waifu, okay, like Wi-Fi, but
sure, why not?
Okay, so. Waifu, okay. She is not my waifu. I'm not into skeleton girls. I'm a happily married man. And I'm not into fictional undead explorers with a vague sense of British imperialism. But
not that there's anything wrong with that.
If that's your milk bag, man, go for it. But
or carton.
Excluding her, I am just not happy that so many characters frequently come back. One of the joys of Banjo games was you would occasionally get that, but there would be a new cast in each world. And because I am a guy who loves characters, and it's one of my biggest gripes with the retros Donkey Kong games, in that they purposely limit the cast to just a bare bones lineup. And part of the fun of these games is the ridiculous parade of weirdos who you have to help or who come to your aid. And granted, Yooka-Laylee has a lot more characters than Retro's Donkey Kong games, but I would have liked even more. And maybe they only have so many they can do in the budget that they had to work with. So
only
maybe
so
I'm
much
just
that they have to reappropriate certain characters for certain things. It could be worse, but it could be better.
Yeah.
I wish. Wishful thinking.
Luckily, Moodymaze Marsh has some of my favorite characters in the game thus far. New characters. And I knew who Ollie the Trolley was because Playtonic promoted him on their Twitter account in the weeks prior to the game being released. And I loved Ollie the Trolley. I thought that was just the most brilliant, now I was disappointed because I thought there was going to be a shopping mall or department store world, which I thought would have been really cool and really unique. But so I was a little disappointed that when I stumbled across one of the shopping carts, who I thought was Ollie at first, but he wasn't. I was like, oh man, I was really hoping for some sort of like retail hell kind of world, some like Black Friday gimmick. But I love Ollie the Trolley, the depressed shopping cart.
Yeah, I felt bad for him.
Yeah, I mean, any character who has such a bleak, as somebody who's battled depression for most of his life, there is a perverse joy in seeing it manifest in fictional characters, especially anthropomorphic objects that are usually inanimate. So it's a treat, but I was not expecting the whole lineup of trolleys, the whole trolley character, and I guess this is a thing in the UK. We don't really have this concept here, but is it a understood thing that in swamps or bogs or whatever, you're going to have a lot of like upturned shopping carts? Like,
Well, I always figured that since like the swamps or maybe a marsh is like public property or something, a bunch of hobos would be going through there. And they might have just left their shopping carts there, and that's what I thought of.
Yeah, like, that makes sense.
It's like seeing a shopping cart in the middle of the woods, like some weird backwoods forest, like in a park or something.
See, I guess I'm not really accustomed to that because I usually like live outside of the cities in like suburban areas and up to like the rural mountains, and so the whole like notion that shopping carts could be anywhere but the parking lot that the store is contained within is a little bit foreign to me. So whatever, but I do like how each shopping cart is there under different pretenses. Like, yeah, they've all been abandoned in this marsh, but they've all taken up either a role or they're doing something there. They don't all have the same purpose in life, which I really loved. Ollie was just kind of there. He was just kind of bleak and gave up, and he was there to basically introduce the maze to you. You want to talk about this maze real quick? Because holy God, this one kicked my ass.
The one with the electricity and whatnot, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually managed to get through that pretty easily, actually, in just like 2 attempts. But when it started getting all electrical and whatnot, I started to freak out.
Yeah, that's what happened to me, and I got stuck. I got stuck, and it was just pushing me the whole way, and I couldn't like get away from it. And I think I was panicking too, so I couldn't think straight. But after that, I was just like, "Nope, I'll do that later."
When I just wanted to get it over with.
Yeah. No, I was like, nope, there's so much more of mood. Because that was one of the first things I attempted. And I was like, I've got to get my bearings in this world before I even go back to that. There's a lot of electricity in this stage. Like a lot of moving electrical, I don't even know what they were. Like just components, like whirligigs. I don't
just
even
this
know.
Weird thing. Just weird electrical boxes, really.
It reminded
I don't know what
me.
They were.
You know, it reminded me of the end of Star Wars, The Phantom Menace, where you had that Darth Maul fight with just this weird, like, electrical power plant with the, like, laser doors that made no sense. They served no practical purpose besides some sort of vague sci-fi notion. And that's kind of what all the electrical what's-its here did.
I'm going to pretend I saw The Phantom Menace and just agree with you.
You've never seen episode 1?
I haven't seen much Star Wars stuff. I saw the movie where the guy says, "I am your father," but maybe just once.
Oh my God.
I've seen so many parodies that I know that I'm going to see them one day. I'm going to sit down and see them one day. I have like the original things on VHS even. So one day I'll just sit down and just watch them.
I mean, you're in for a treat if you haven't really watched the originals. I mean, my God.
I'm so bad at this.
To experience the original Star Wars trilogy like for the first time, that would be a treat. It's so like ingrained, you know. But I think I'm more offended by you never playing Granny's Revenge than I am you never really getting into Star Wars. But
I can live with that.
Now I'm not an engineer though, so you know who's to say what purpose these whatchamacallits, these electrical gizmos actually serve. So I'm sure people are going to be calling in, well, actually, Hyle, I work in a electrical plant, and Yooka-Laylee nailed what I do perfectly. If you did any research prior to this episode, you would know this. And for that, I am withdrawing my Patreon pledge, and I hope to see you in hell.
Great. Isn't that just wonderful?
And then I'll have a correction at the beginning of the next episode. But besides Ollie, I was surprised to see the other shopping carts. And two of them I loved. One of them was Jolly the Trolley. And I don't have any issues with Jolly the Trolley, except that I don't like that his name is Jolly, because there was only one Jolly in this ultimate omni-rare Platonic canon, and that is Jolly Roger. So
yeah, he's everyone's favorite frog.
I know there's only so many things you can rhyme trolley with, and they couldn't go with Molly because that was already used by the Molly Cools. They could have done Holly the Trolley.
Well, that would have been nice, but Holly's a girl name, isn't it?
Yeah, but they could have made a girl trolley.
That's right.
Why is a shopping cart inherently masculine? Like, because the stereotype is women like to shop, and I mean I'm not saying that's a worthwhile stereotype to promote, but that is what exists. So I'm not propagating gender norms here in the conversation. Please save your angry letters, and if you have any angry comments, please direct them towards TheCartoonGamer.
Oh, nice. Yeah, sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for throwing me under the trolley.
Very nice. So Jolly runs the water filtration system in the one murky pond.
And
you
I can't say I remember that off.
You had to go
through.
You had to hit all those switches. Use the lizard lash. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that place. And wasn't he like on the ground or something?
Yes, and then you had to use the lizard lash to pull the crate over and rest on one switch while you went up and activated the other 4 switches while the bees fired at you.
Oh, right. Yeah, I remember that.
So what I did was I cleared out as many bees as I could ahead of time, and then did it and made it a lot easier. There was, I think, my third favorite trolley, although maybe my first favorite trolley in the implications and the dialogue, and that's Wally the Trolley.
Wally the Trolley.
Who, like, he is the,
he talked like, did you notice how he talked? Like his little dialogue sounds like, yeah.
I assumed it was like a British hooligan, like some sort of, like ill-begotten British youth with the backwards baseball caps and the... I think they're called chavs, or they were called chav, like in the aughts, the naughties.
The naughties. He reminded me of like Roberto the robot, like from Futurama, like how he talked, like like when Roberto gets like a little crazy. You call me crazy?
Yeah. So a lot of the Platonic writing, I think mostly done by Andy Robinson, or maybe all done by Andy Robinson, went over my head because there were a lot more Britishisms than even Rare indulges with in Yooka-Laylee, which I love. I mean, I'm an Anglophile, and I love kind of trying to assimilate my brain into that culture when I'm playing this game. But, Donkey Kong, especially the Donkey Kong Country series, like really tried to come off as American, or American Canadian in its kind of language and tone. And I mean, you had the stereotypical surfer dude. It was very much 90s American youth. And then Banjo-Kazooie kind of straddled the line a bit more. It introduced some British quirkiness to it. Some of the dialogue, I know, like core was one of the exclamations used in that game that I picked up on. I was like, oh, that must be a Britishism. And I started to notice it a bit more, despite Banjo being like a riff on an American Southerner.
Yeah, and I was like, when Banjo said core for the first time, I was like, what? What did you just say? Yeah.
Which I like that. Again, Banjo is kind of like emblematic of the tone of Banjo-Kazooie because he's an American Southerner who wears tight European shorts. So you get like the best of both worlds. And Conker then kind of really leaned hard into it being British.
Oh, and so much.
Besides like the Hollywood movie parodies, it was very much an English game. And then like Grab by the Ghoulies, I think after Conker, it really just kind of opened the floodgates, and Rare was pretty much, okay, we're just making British games now.
It's like just embrace what we are.
Right.
So you better learn to love it, because we love it so much.
I, in my mind, like the Rare Archipelago, Donkey Kong Islands, the DK Isles, that's like the most Americanized part of the Rare Archipelago, and then you've got like Willow Woods, which is the most overtly British, excluding the parts that are actually on the British mainland, like Pantsland and Ghoulhaven Hall and whatnot. But Yooka-Laylee is even more British than I think the most British of Rare. Like this is more British than Conker at times.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely. There's some jokes in here that I don't get as an American. So.
Oh yeah, like Breeze Block, like the
Yes.
World 2 boss. I was like,
yes.
What is the joke there? Are you trying to say Freeze Block? And then I found out
I'm glad I wasn't
Breeze
the
Block.
only one, because I had to give a mea culpa at the beginning of this episode because I didn't know what a breeze block was. So I'm glad I'm not the only.
Cinder block?
And you're Canadian. That's like a hybrid of America and the UK. So I feel a little bit better now.
It's like we just call them cinder blocks up here.
Yeah, same here. Anyway, so Wally was the one who asked you to destroy all of the mushrooms in the mushroom patch. And very transparently, Wally worked for a rival farmer's market. But I don't think he runs the farmer's market. I think he is literally a shopping cart at the farmer's market. And he's like following the orders of some sort of
drug overlord.
Yeah, well, or just rogue farmer who.
So I figured like mushrooms. It's like some shady things are going on here.
I didn't even like assume that. Like the thought crossed my mind, but I literally think it just. The joke is that they're doing like drug kingpin type antics, but just for regular mushrooms that you would buy at the farmer's market. I think there's layers to it.
Yeah, like I got a little bit of gameplay footage that I recorded, and it says right here, hey, if you see a punk trying to grow shrooms on my turf, you let me know.
Yeah. But I like that. And it reminded me a lot of Banjo-Tooie, which is where Banjo and Kazooie start having to do unscrupulous things to get their jiggies. Mm-hmm. Where they're the hero because that's the end. They're working towards an end goal that's heroic, but they have to do some kind of shady things along the way and kind of have to turn a blind eye to doing what's right in order to get all their collectibles. So I like that you have a little bit of moral ambiguity, some gray area here. Mm-hmm. And I like that Wally the Trolley brought that out in you. And I just love that there's more of the marsh that we don't see. Like there's these farmers markets that are at war with one another, and or a farmers market, or like a vendor at the farmers market that's at war with another vendor at the farmers. It's stuff like that. It's ludicrous, but it's the kind of world building I cannot get enough of, and that I would come up with in my own head if the game did not provide me this to begin with. So
yeah, it really makes you think.
Yeah, and I love how realized the world of Yooka-Laylee is, and I mean, I'm really feeling it in Moodymaze Marsh, more so than Glitter Glaze Glacier. I'm feeling like, okay, this is a world that even when you turn it off, or when Yooka-Laylee are not in this grand home, this world continues on, and these characters go through just daily struggles of stupidity, and I love it.
Daily levels of stupidity. How do they get by?
Well, one trolley doesn't really get by. This is the darkest one.
So this is the one I was thinking about.
When you're swimming through the long labyrinth of pipes and ductwork, and you have to utilize a combination of the bubble fart move, where you have to walk on the surface of an underground area, but then you have to hit a switch and then burst the bubble so the jets can get you underneath the gate in time, and then you have to evade the electrical who's it, what's it's, and what have you. And it was it was fairly easy, but it was still it was very tense platforming, and not even platforming, but 3D platforming gaming for me, because I was
crazy maneuvering.
Crazy maneuvering, and it went on for so long that you were desperately afraid that you were going to screw it up and have to start all over again, which would have been basically what you were going through with Gloomy Gem Grotto. But this was not as inherently fun as Gloomy Gem Grotto was for me. It wasn't like unfun, but I still had to. I still didn't want to repeat it necessarily, because it underwater platforming, either in 2D or 3D gaming, is never my favorite. I appreciate it and I like it in moderation, but it's always kind of a bit of a slog. Like, I actually agree with Retro Studios on their mentality of cutting the underwater levels from Donkey Kong Country Returns. And as much as I was glad to see them back in Tropical Freeze, if I'm being honest with myself, World 4 in Tropical Freeze is my least favorite world in Tropical Freeze. So,
wow. I really like that world, but I see where you're coming from. And like whenever in Returns, when they couldn't swim, I always just imagined like, oh, I guess they forgot. It's been like 16 years. I can live with that.
See, the way I rationalized it was there was like something underneath the water that was like immediately like killing them or something.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway. Anyway, this you reach the end of this ductwork, these pipes, and I don't believe we ever get this trolley's name, so maybe this can be Holly the trolley. No, it's not a female though, so it has to be a male name. Let's see, Ollie, Wally, Jolly, Bali. Maybe he's really into Indian cinema.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a Holly, why not a Bali, right?
Folly, because he gets into a lot of trouble. Anyway,
Follies.
I will ask Platonic on Twitter. I will just ask him straight up, what is the name of this trolley? But he is crushed under, was it bones or?
Let's see if I can remember. Maybe it was bones. Maybe it was like bramble or something.
It was. I think he had a skeleton on. You had to like help clear him, but then he was still like stuck under something. And he gave you a pagey, but then he just was overly dramatic, said, go on without me. Just tell people of my grand adventures or whatnot.
Yeah, and I felt bad for him.
Yeah, I was like really actually worried about him. I was like, well, surely there has to be a way I can get him out of here, right? Like maybe with the transformation, I can carry him out somehow. And I realized, no, this is just some dark humor by Platonic.
This is where his story ends.
But he's also an anthropomorphic shopping cart, so he can live there, for quite some time. So, maybe at some point in the future, he'll have some benefactor who will come along and free him.
That would be nice. Wishful thinking.
You know what? Platonic, I had this thought when I was drifting out to sleep last night, because I was like, I have to record the conversation with Malik tomorrow. I should have some talking points ready. What can I talk about? When I was getting in that nice in-between state, that dreamy stage between awake and slumber, I thought, Platonic has mentioned that the star of their next game will be in Yooka-Laylee. He or she appears in Yooka-Laylee. Maybe it's this crushed trolley. And his redemption will come yet.
Or it's going to be an origin story, and then it'll lead up to the events of him getting crushed.
It'll be the Better Call Saul of Yooka-Laylee. How did the likable shopping trolley turn to such a depraved lifestyle that ultimately led to such a gloomy fate?
Find out in Trolley's Follies, rated M for mature.
Oh, the critics would hate it, but we would love it so much.
Oh, come on now. Does that not just scream like Game of the Year award?
I'm afraid at some point Platonic is going to realize that their most true blue fans, the true rare faithful, are way too esoteric. Way too esoteric and weird for them to actually be financially viable if they're going to cater to.
Well, come on. It's not their fault they didn't make a 9-part series for Chief Bloatism, is it?
They haven't yet, Malik. They haven't yet.
They better.
The petition is reopened. dkvine.com/bloatizen. I don't remember who reopened it. It was just reopened one day. I don't really recall what happened there, but for some reason, I think it's the universe giving us a sign. Keep plugging away on the bloatizen petition.
Or the universe is just like, these guys are really funny. Let's see how long this joke can go.
If you guys,
it's not a joke actually, but you know what I mean.
For those of you who have been listening to the conversation for years now, or have followed DK Vine through the decades, oh my god, you'll know that if there's one thing I don't like, it's quitting on anything. If I personally commit to something, I'm going to stick with it until I am in the grave, and even then, I'm trying to plot my way out of my eventual death. So
you'll just come back as a ghost.
Yeah, I'll be like the Ghost
Bottles.
Riders. There's really not much to discuss about the Ghost Riders, and they're where they are. But what do you think about the Ghost Riders as a concept? Because they are, to me, very frustrating Jinjos, and I love them, but I still have issues. Like, I think it's the one that fights you.
Yeah, like Ghost Riders. I do like how they tried to change things up a bit. Like, oh, you found the thing, but now you also have to do this thing with it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where the concept for me, I sort of don't like it. Like, I think the reward itself was finding the thing in the first place, and then now you have to do this thing that could potentially kill you, and then... Because it's killed me before in, like, Glitter Glaze Glacier and Tribal Stack Tropics, the fighty one, and...
Oh, he's killed me numerous times.
He's killed me, like, so many times. Just let me get you, man. But it's a nice concept for certain characters, but I really don't think it's something that needed to be done. I don't think anybody was complaining about, like, oh, we really need to do something about the Jinjos, you know? Like, we gotta make this more of not an ordeal, but we gotta make this more of a challenge. Like, it was already a challenge trying to find them. And finding them was the reward. But now it's like, okay, I gotta find this thing to shoot into this guy's mouth now. I need to catch this guy. I do like chasing that guy, and I like the guy that just stays, just the fiery one, and you just need to pick him up. And the ghost one. I actually kind of like the ghost one, too. I think it's really only the one that likes to fight you I really have issues with. So if you're gonna do something with those kinds of characters, just make it so it doesn't hurt you. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know what I'm doing wrong with that guy. Like, I get him in the end, but for some reason, he just, like, kicks my ass. Like, I have to jump over him, and then he, like...
Yeah,
he's hovers in midair, and then...
He sucker punches you a lot. It's like, okay, I'm going to jump out of the way. It's like, oh, man, you got me. Like, little... Can't stand you.
I do like the Ghost Riders, though. I like that it is an evolution of the Jinjo concept. It's a little bit more in-depth. And I like the general concept of the characters and how they relate to the Grand Tomes. Like, you know, I've mentioned this before on these episodes, but, you know, as much as I just absolutely adore Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie, they're some of my favorite games of all time, obviously. You know, a lot of the elements just never seemed like they went together well. You had the loose, like, musical instrument thing, and then you had... puzzle pieces, and then you have Jinjos, and it's just a lot of disparate elements that, yeah, they all work together, but I like how Yooka-Laylee strives to, besides the musical pun of the duo's name, everything is book related.
Yeah, and, like, it has a clear vision, and it's like, because Banjo was like so many different things throughout so many different iterations, that one thing stayed, but another thing didn't stay. Right. It's like, okay, so everything is going to have a musical name. Banjo, Piccolo, everybody's going to have a musical theme. We're going to have musical notes, but only like Banjo and Kazooie, and the musical notes stayed. It's like, now there's a story time theme, and then the Jinjos are in there somewhere, and it all meshes together well. And I mean, I've never had a problem with it, but I see where you're coming from. Yeah, it's nice that Yooka-Laylee it didn't start out as like an RPG when it first started.
Right. You know, and like I said, like I was talking about Yooka and Laylee and how their moves complement them so well. Like, everything is so well realized. And while I always have a nostalgic preference for the Banjo-Kazooie cast, I do appreciate how it shows how much the Playtonic team has matured and how they approach game design. So, yeah, I am willing to give that point to Yuka. Kartos in this world, and I guess Kartos in general, this was the easiest Kartos challenge yet. Like, I was expecting this. I was like, okay, I bet here is where Kartos gets really frustrating, and I wasn't really looking forward to it, and I sailed through this no sweat, and I was kind of surprised.
It took me like a little bit of it wasn't hard per se, but there was a certain part in the area where it's like you can loop forever and ever if you don't go on the right track. And I was like, wait, what am I doing wrong here? This is where I've been.
I think that's what made it so easy for me, because I was able to just replenish any gems I lost. So it was never the case where, I'm out of time and I didn't collect enough gems. It was, okay, I'm just looping around. Okay. So
and I would say that the
lucky.
Music.
Yeah.
Yeah, the music in that level, in that challenge, so good. It's like, that is
absolutely.
Some great stuff right there.
David Wise, I mean, it's very Tropical Freeze-esque, modern David Wise, you know. And as much as I have an issue with the character of Kartos, because do you understand what the hell he's talking about minecarts being old-fashioned and nobody wanting, like, modern gamers not wanting to play minecarts? And because I don't get
I have no idea. It's like minecarts are old.
Nobody does.
It's like, what? We just got Tropical Freeze. Like,
we just got Tropical
have,
Freeze.
Like, never been better.
We just got Tropical Freeze, and that has the best minecart stages in the series.
And I mean, it's not like minecarts were like a one-and-done thing in Donkey Kong Country, and that was it. Like, maybe if Kartos was... maybe if they didn't do any minecarts in, like, DKC2, DKC3, DK64, Returns, and Tropical Freeze, maybe Kartos would have a point. But it's like, no, man. Minecarts have always been a thing.
Minecraft alone ruins Kartos' argument.
Do they have minecarts in Minecraft?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Mines.
Yes.
Mines.
It's Minecraft, and you mine, and you minecarts are like huge in Minecraft.
Oh, geez. Shows how educated I am in that field.
Now, don't feel bad, Malik. I would not know that if Chad wasn't obsessed with Minecraft, because I've had to hear Minecraft this and Minecraft that.
I like that episode, and the only thing I can remember from that one is when Chad said, "I got wood," and then you started laughing.
I don't even remember that. Yeah,
he found some wood.
I was just daydreaming about playing #IDRB some more. So. Anyway, Kartos, I don't get the character, and the challenges are not as fun, unfortunately, as Tropical Freeze is. And that's the big issue I have with Kartos is Tropical Freeze had such solid, like, 2.5D minecarting challenges.
Oh, yeah, those are some of the best. Oh, High Tide Ride. That's, like, so cool. It was like, I got DK64, like, flashbacks when it started getting all 2.5D, and Sawmill Thrill, that really was a thrill.
Sawmill Thrill, oh yeah, that is one of the best in the game as well, and that is like a lost DKC3 track, although that would be I guess a toboggan, so I guess that invalidates that point, but nonetheless.
It's the same concept, or whatever they were using in the sewers. Were they using a toboggan in DKC3, like when they were in the pipe places? That's weird.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it was slicked down with oil, I guess, even though you didn't slide around when you were outside the toboggan. But you're overthinking it.
I'm overthinking. Because I'm the overthinker here.
Maybe the toboggans, the bottom of it was greased up, so...
I'll believe that.
Okay, all right. Anyway, yeah, despite my issues with the concept of Kartos being like this cranky Kong figure who complains about this bygone era that never went away, like...
It's like just 2 years ago, man.
Yeah.
We had the ride of our lives.
And then I also just the whole firing mechanism in his minecart challenges. I can never line them up. I don't know.
Sometimes if you make a turn, it will completely like just go a complete different direction. Like it won't go straight. It'll go like up or whatever direction, not the one you want it to go into or you expect it to.
Which would be fine, but usually when you have to use it is when you're coming out of a turn and boom, there's something, you know?
Yeah,
so,
and it's like, poof, it just veered off up.
Maybe it's a matter of like reflexes. Maybe we're just all firing it way too fast and we're just not being patient enough. But because I've never actually gotten it to work right, I'm always leery anyway, so...
Yeah, and the worst part about like how Kartos, all the different mechanisms with Kartos is that you have to wait to do certain things. Like, you can't break whenever you feel like it. You can break once, and then you have to wait, like, a few seconds. But they never tell you that. Or when you can fire, you can't just keep firing away. You can only fire one shot every few seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where things got really complicated for me in various minecart stages.
Yeah. I was pleasantly surprised that I was able to do this in one try, but... I am afraid about what's to come as far as Kartos. I'm afraid there's some punishments ahead. Let's talk about Rexstro's arcade game that was found here. Bebop. Oh my god, I just got that pun.
You know, me too, actually. I was like, wait, Rocksteady. I immediately thought Rocksteady.
Yeah. Okay, so I did not get because I never really said it out loud up until this point. And I was like, oh, Bebop. Okay. So what do you think about the Bebop game?
I thought it was okay. I mean, it wasn't super exciting, but it worked and it was nice. I liked how you got to play as the bee enemy.
It wasn't as great as Glaciators, and when I first played it, I was confused because I did not know I thought you had to avoid the bees, and I was like, where's Yooka-Laylee? I don't see them. Wait, what's happening? Where am I? Am I the corplet? Oh, wait, I'm the bee?
Oh, man, I can see that. Yeah, I understand that. It's like, it doesn't tell you.
And the whole, like, you just have to, like, dive bomb on the corplets thing. Yeah, it's all right, but I think I vastly prefer the first two Kartos challenges. I think, yeah, as much as I love Moodymaze Marsh, the actual arcade game Bebop, it's probably my least favorite of the three thus far.
Yeah, well, I'd say for me the first world, the minecart one, that one I don't really like because I was so confused when I first saw that. I was like, kind of like you with Bebop. I was like, wait, where's Yooka-Laylee? Okay, this is a top-down thing, and I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I didn't like the color scheme of that place. Everything was like this murky, reddish-orange kind of thing, color, and I just didn't like it. I thought it was okay. It worked just fine. But, yeah, it wasn't my favorite.
Yeah, a lot of people are having issues with the Rexstro games, and I'm thinking, maybe they would like them better if they went more the Banjo route, where, like you said, they just had mini games that better utilize the actual feel of the game versus, like, basically supplanting a whole different genre into Yooka-Laylee. But it's fine. It's a brain adjustment. That's the only issue. Is it completely like takes you out of what Yooka-Laylee is. It kind of reminds me of the arcade game in Donkey Kong 64 or Jetpack in DK64 as well, where now I'm playing this completely different game and it's hard, It's not the game I was playing just 5 seconds ago, and I have to completely mentally adjust.
Yeah, and then when you're playing, because when I tried to get the banana medal for Jetpack, I was playing that thing for like 15 minutes straight, and every time it sent me back into the DK64 world, I got this like weird, like something went on in my head. I was like, whoa, okay.
It's like coming up for air or something.
I'm back now.
Or like waking up from a weird dream, and you're just like, what?
Where was I? It's like, okay, I'm back to reality now. I'm in the polygonal world now, but I'm going straight back into the 8-bit world, and it's going to happen to me again.
Yeah. But by the way, we are live streaming this as we do every episode of The Kongversation now. And in the live stream, we have some thoughts on Moodymaze Marsh. Tip Top Kong would just like to say that the background faraway trees in Moodymaze Marsh gave him a Lost World from DKC2 vibe.
Ooh.
And that's something I think I noticed instinctively, although I didn't really make the connection back to the Lost World per se, but just the detail in the distance, because up until Moodymaze, Tribal Stack Tropics just had sky with some other vague floating islands in the background, and Glitter Glaze Glacier just had the starry sky with the moon, but Moodymaze Marsh does not take place on this floating island or up in this mountain. So you basically have the implication that this world just extends outwards where, the farmer's market is. And so the trees, I remember just studying them and being really impressed with the way they looked and thinking how much it reminded me of past Rare works, although I couldn't quite place them. But yeah, I think you might be right. There is a little bit of a Lost World vibe in there.
And it kind of makes you want to go there, and you can't go there.
And that's what I love. And I'm fine with the Grand Tomes being, what they are. But I loved, in Banjo games where you could think, oh, if I could only just break this barrier, I'm sure there would be a fully realized world just beyond that mountain. And it's silly, juvenile thinking, but that's the kind of brain state your head should go when you're playing these games. You shouldn't be thinking in such clinical technical terms as well. Yes, this game was developed in Unity, so clearly,
it should be doing, you Killjoy.
Yeah, it should be about actually believing in the environment you're pretending to be in. So
it's just out of your reach, but it only in your dreams.
Mm-hmm. All right, Dr. Puzz's transformation. So, Malik, did you listen to the World 2 episode?
Yes, I did.
You remember how much I hated the snowplow?
Yeah, I didn't like the snowplow either, man. I know where you're coming from.
Well, this is the complete turnaround, which you couldn't do in a snowplow.
Yeah, you couldn't do that at all.
The shoal of fish, or a school of fish, but I think they called it a shoal of fish. The piranhas. Not only is it inherently hilarious as a visual,
because you're the piranhas now in this swamp level.
Yes, but it's a hilarious visual to see Yooka and Laylee transform into multiple tiny little beings.
Yeah, it's a little adorable.
But it's also so much fun to have this. In my opinion, and granted, this is somebody who has not played World 4 or World 5 and don't know what the transformations there entail, this is the best transformation in any Banjo or Yooka game.
Well, maybe not on Banjo. For me, I would say that the alligator... I'm not going to go into spoilers, don't worry. But I would say that in Banjo, I would say the alligator was my favorite transformation. Because the controls for the fish, like the regular swimming controls, they were a little weird. I mean, I got used to them after a while, but with the crocodile, it was pretty easy to just walk around.
Let's see. For me, I thought the piranhas controlled better than the normal swimming mechanics. It was easier. It was more simplified, and I got a kick out of it. And it was nice not having to worry about oxygen while actually swimming. And it was also just great to be able to swarm the marine corplets or whatever they're called and just devour them.
And the bramble, I actually thought that they were gonna chomp up the bramble and just get rid of it, but no, they just swim right through it. It's like, okay.
You know why I think I love this one? Because this was not only the best underwater transformation we've ever... we had the submarine in Banjo-Tooie, and we had the octopus in Grunny's Revenge, which I don't think ever actually went underwater, but they were okay. But this one, it combined just absurdity the ability to swim freely, and it also gave me the desired effect that I always hoped for with the T-Rex spell in Banjo-Tooie.
To just destroy things?
To devour things, just like a savage animal. I love the shoal of fish transformation. And when I saw that Dr. Puzz's pad was actually underwater, I was like, oh my God, what do they have in store for us? And I thought maybe you turn into some sort of like barracuda or something, right? Ooh. I did not expect an actual school of fish. That was just, it was sublimely ridiculous.
Yeah, I will say that they are better than the submarine and anything else, any other underwater stuff that we've had beforehand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I'm somebody who likes when the transformations actually take on an animal rather than a physical thing like a car. Sorry, Cameron. But I hated the snowplow, but mostly just due to the way it controlled. And the plant was really weird. And at least you got some solid ejaculation jokes out of that. But all in all, the shoal of fish was just like it just. I could feel the 12-year-old inside of me, and he was just, or I guess it would be the 13 or 14-year-old Banjo-Kazooie. Yeah, the 14-year-old inside of me was just giddy beyond belief because this is just, it was catnip or fish food, I guess.
Yeah, it was fish food laced with some kind of addictive substance.
Now let's get to the boss. Unless there's any other pages or weird obstacles you want to bring up in Moodymaze Marsh. Like this was a world that was full of a lot of just like, oh, there's like simple traps. There were some pages and cages that you had to figure out how to get. A lot of jump through the hoops. There was this one where a cage drops on you and you have to like do battle with the corplets, which was very easy, but. By the way, what were the corplets supposed to be in this world? Were they like mutated teddy bears? Like what were they?
I figured them to be something like just weird little swamp things.
Like swamp monsters? Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, like these weird little things.
It wasn't quite as clear to me as World 1 and World 2 were, so I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing something. Anyway, were there any just random bits in this world that we haven't brought up that you would like to? Like there's the part with the logs floating along. You remember the wooden logs floating along the poisonous sludge, and you had to like jump from floating log to floating log, and they would sink as you stood on them.
Yeah, I like that. There was a little segment where there were more of those logs, and it kind of reminded me of Frogger.
Yes, and my wife was watching me play, and she specifically brought up Frogger.
Yeah, well, like when my brother saw me go through that stuff, like he just started instinctively going like bloop 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 bloop. It's like where are the flies? Where are the flies? Eat them.
The pumpkins you could actually talk to. They looked a great deal like Mumbo's pumpkin transformation in Mad Monster Mansion.
Yeah, like. There's one pumpkin you can talk to, right? Or wait, no, there's like two.
Two.
Or a few.
I think there's two, yeah. But yeah, they
and I
had
liked
the big
how their eyes
googly
moved.
eyes. Yeah. And I also wanted to bring up, you already brought it up, but the brambles. This is yet another return of one of Rare's favorite go-tos and now Platonics in the brambles. Of course, made famous by Donkey Kong Country 2, but... They've reappeared a few times since then, and mostly Donkey Kong games by both Rare and Retro. But it was great to see some brambles, even though they were a pain in the ass at times trying to get around. Yes, I would bounce from bramble to bramble, and because your Yooka-Laylee like recoil whenever they get hit, so that can sometimes cause a bit of a nuisance when. They recoil right into another bramble, and you don't have enough time to clear it.
But yeah, I like the brambles. It helped bring more. You don't really see brambles in swamps, do you?
You can. I mean, I don't think there's any rule that says swamps just have to be like the cattails and reeds. Like you can have brambles and swamps. I've been in swampy areas that have had like brambles or like thorny plants.
I used to live in a house, and there used to be like a swamp literally in my backyard, and they had like those little sticky like burrs, those little spiky balls and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are like, what are these things? They're mystical in a sense.
When I went to the UK last May, I brought this up in the conversation, but they have, the thorns that can make you numb. They'll make your skin go numb. And not having that here, I was like freaking out when I like could feel my leg going numb, and I was just like, or the skin on my leg going numb. I'm not going to be that overly dramatic about it, but and I was just like, what is happening to me? And yeah, apparently like that it's just a thing they grow up with there. All right.
Interesting.
Well, Trev, which makes me wonder, if the implication is the brambles in these rare games are supposed to make our characters suffer a similar fate, because I associate them with our like thorny plants and brambles here, and I don't know. Trev, the tentacle.
Not a name that rolls off the tongue.
It is not a name that rolls off the tongue. He is a kraken, though. I think a mutated kraken. The whole tentacle thing makes me think that like he's got eyes like growing on his limbs as a result of like a swamp mutation.
Yeah,
I'm not really quite clear on that. I mean, Rare and has always been very environmentally minded, and they like to put environmental messages in their worlds. I'm thinking Jolly Roger's Lagoon specifically with the mutated pigs, but
Freako.
I'm not sure if that's the implication with Trev, but that is my own personal interpretation. Just so he squares away with the Kraken in Sea of Thieves, which I'm sure won't have eyes on its tentacles.
I think he'll speak British.
I'm sure he won't speak at all, but granted, Trev might have also been enchanted by Taj the genie, so he can speak, and the Kraken in Sea of Thieves might just be a wild animal. So, I've already figured out how we can reconcile the two. I was doing that when I was fighting this boss. But this is one of my favorite boss fights yet, and he's one of my favorite characters in the game. Malik, I feel like I've been talking your ear off. I'll let you have some words in about Trev.
Well, okay then. So when I really like Trev too. He's one of my favorites in the whole game as well. Like, when I just came across the area that he was in, I didn't even know I was getting myself into a boss fight. And then he starts talking to you about how he's not going to give you the pagey because it's his favorite tea cozy. And it's like, I'm not going to give you my favorite tea cozy. It's like, my soaps are about to come on. And then the fight just starts because he's like, they tell him, oh, you can just catch the soap later. And it's like, and have it spoiled on social media. That's it. I'm going to fight you now.
Yeah, I really do like that there is a lot of quintessential Rare-esque humor in a game, but it's also modern. You can have quips like having shows spoiled on social media, and it feels like, the Rare world, the Platonic world, the Omni shared universe that DK Vine recognizes, and the rest of the internet probably just doesn't acknowledge as being a thing. But I like that you have those modern touches in this game, and more so than when the characters like rag on Rextro or Kartos complaints. I don't like when there's like the vague like nuts and bolts style humor, like, oh, the industry's moved on, ha 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 ha. You don't have a lot of that in Yooka-Laylee, but I like when you've got like the modern flourishes where characters mention social media or things of that nature, and it's especially hilarious when it's a kraken living in a swamp, living in like a drain pipe or something, and the fact that he would have an internet or wireless connection or a smartphone or something, that he has cable or
just access to the outside world. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how oh wait, what were you gonna say?
Oh no. I was just going to talk about how much I like that he also watches soaps, and
He's not a mean guy.
No, he's just. It's the same thing with Rampo. He was just kind of upset, and Breeze Block for that matter. They all just wanted to go about their business, and
yeah, you're invading their home, and then you beat the crap out of them and take something from them.
You're a home invader. Yeah, they should. You're basically those scary men in those home security commercials that like break the windows and
you
like,
better have ADT.
Yeah, the scared mother, the pretty lily white mother and daughter are like cowering in fear, but they're safe because the alarm rings, and then the burglar just runs off. It's like vaguely racist, not even vaguely racist, overtly racist commercials that prey on the fear-mongering like white suburbia. I hate them so much, but that's essentially what Yooka-Laylee are. They are those cat burglars.
Well, I mean, they didn't know, but I guess it's just something they're just gonna have to get used to now. But yeah. Anyway, on to the boss battle itself, I guess.
Yes. So for one thing, the dialogue during the boss battle was constantly hilarious. I mean, I assume Andy Robinson wrote this. If so, this is his best writing thus far in the game. It's the most Loveday-esque, I think, I've seen Yooka-Laylee get. It reminded me of straight up of dialogue from a Banjo-Tooie character. So props to that. But the boss fight is so... I like when, specifically, it comes to mind when Trev says, so you think you're hard?
No, he says, you want to have a go? Come and have a go if you think you're hard enough. And I thought...
Yes.
I initially thought that might have been like, oh, see, because Grant said that one time and he explained where that came from. But when I saw it come up, I was like, he said it. That's so cool. They finally acknowledged it.
But the boss battle itself, I quite enjoyed this much more than Breeze Block, which Breeze Block was just a lot of endurance and it just took forever and it didn't really change. Besides the size of him, it didn't really change.
It eventually became a game of Pong.
Yeah, it was just super tedious after a while, where this constantly changed. It introduced variations. It was a classic boss battle. It reminded me a lot of Retro's Tropical Freeze bosses, where you had the constantly evolving circumstances. And, okay, so now there's this, but we're going to introduce this new element. Here you go.
Just to keep you on your toes.
I was a bit confused at first, because when the Great gave way and you were in the murky water. I mean, it was colored like the murky water that you couldn't swim in. So I thought, oh my God, I need to get to dry land. Where can I find a platform to stand on? And then I quickly realized, I guess that swampy water wasn't quite as lethal. Maybe because Trev has been farting in it or something, and it has enough air bubbles to protect the skin of Yooka-Laylee.
Or I mean, he has access to cable. He must have access to like clean plumbing.
Yeah, but I mean, it's only working halfway then. But anyway,
that water bill is huge, man. You expect him to go all the way with that?
True. That's true. Thank you for calming my fears about discontinuity in this game.
Oh, no problem.
I do like that you never actually see Trev. You only see his tentacles, like 2 tentacles and the one giant eyeball.
It's kind of like with Cleaver. Sorry to cut you off there.
No, that's fine. Cleaver. Oh, you mean because
the
Cleaver,
hand.
You see the sword, but there's also the weird fire hand. But then but then it turns out that it's actually the sword is operating independently of the fire hand. So I think it's like supposed to be a fake out. You think Cleaver is like this lava monster, but no, that's just a fake out. The Cleaver is actually the sword. At least that's my interpretation.
I always figured there was like some evil like lava Kremling underneath the water, and you never see him, and we're like, oh man, I'm glad we don't see that thing.
Perhaps the lava Kremling is just the lackey though, and the sword is the real boss.
Can you imagine what that must have looked like? It could be like really huge, or maybe it's just this tiny little thing with one big arm.
Well, we also had Kerosene in the GBA version, but he wasn't made of lava. He was just he
was just orange
and fires breathing. I think he was fiery breathing, but he carried the he carried the 2 swords that resembled Cleaver when you first met him. So anyway, but yeah, I thought this was a quite enjoyable one, the most enjoyable boss battle yet. I did enjoy Rampo once I got the hang out of actually going up the ramp, but for me, Trev was just ace. He was the best of like a Donkey Kong style boss mixed with the Banjo style bosses, which have never really worked for me. Like I like some of the bosses in Banjo-Tooie, but it was also sometimes they were more of a nuisance than anything. But this was so much fun to play. It was never like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, or it's never overbearing. It was engaging. It was an engaging boss fight.
Oh yeah, and like one of the best parts that made it really feel like a Donkey Kong boss was like the music itself. It was done by David Wise, and as soon as it started up, I was like, wait, this does not sound like Grant Kirkhope. And then the guitar started kicking in. I was like, oh, this is David Wise. This has to be David Wise. And the song itself, it's like my favorite song, one of my favorite songs in the whole soundtrack.
But for whatever reason, David Wise, because I was worried about the weird mosaic of composers in this game because I didn't really know how Wise and Kirkhope would coexist being in the same game. It's working surprisingly well, though. I mean, I don't really have any complaints.
Yeah, it managed to, like, I really didn't, I knew there was, like, a stylistic change, but it didn't really bother me. It's like, this works. This is fine.
I also don't mean to, talk down by exclusion the work of Steve Burke. It just, Kirkhope and Wise are so iconically familiar. Like, you can tell their styles instantly. So, sorry, Steve. I don't mean to, slight you by not mentioning you, but...
He's the one to blame. Send your hate mail to Hyle this time.
Okay, all right. Well, I get enough of it, so it's fine. So anyway, let's take... we have less calls this time because people were confused about the the new Hall of Fame number. Again, the new DK Vine Hall of Fame number is 1-202-630-VINE. VINE or 8463. 1-202-630-VINE. So call that number from here on out for the brand new DK Vine hotline. But we got two calls, both from the same caller. So let's take them, and then we will give our final thoughts on Moodymaze Marsh.
Alrighty.
Hi, Hyle. It's Rob Butler here, and welcome to the show on Gaming Experience. I don't know what your real name is. I don't know who you are, but welcome. Anyway, I just wanted to say one thing I noticed in World 3 when I was playing this game. I noticed that earlier when I started playing Yooka-Laylee, there were times where I felt like I was kind of being allowed to cheat too much with the platforming. Like, there were times when I could like climb up the like a rock wall or something where it didn't feel like I was really supposed to, and there were like legitimate platforming challenges that I would bypass or not really feel like I was doing how they intended, and not having as much fun that way because sometimes it was a little hard to see what the actual quote-unquote correct way of doing it was. But when I got to World 3, I'm thinking of the pagey that's in the cage where you have to jump across the water, and if you jump on that floating plank, then it makes a splash, and that makes the cage close. And I was just able to high jump onto the wall and run along that and get the pagey. And I'm not even sure if that's the so-called intended way to do it or not. But then I realized that in this level, you are meant to go up on those rock walls because there's feather quills up there, and there's the tongue grabber things to get up there in some spots. But it's really weird. Like, I feel like in some cases it seems clearly intended for you to do these kind of sneaky things, but in other cases I don't know. It feels like it kind of kills the challenge of the platforming. What do you guys think about that? Because I haven't really I mean, in platformer games, sometimes you can do stuff like this, but it's never been so widespread in a game I've played as it is in this case. It's really interesting. Anyway, have a nice day. Bye.
Well, thank you for the call, Rob Butler. And by the way, Gaming Experience is Malik's Twitter handle, so it is Malik who is with me. Some confusion there.
Yes, it is.
Before we get to the point of your call, I will play your second call so we can get all of our Rob Butler calls in at the same time, and we can that way we don't break up, because for all I know, you're going to elaborate on some thoughts you just gave and questions, so I don't want to step on what you're about to say, so let's hear it.
Oh, hey again, Rob Butler. I just thought of one other thing. So you know how in Yooka-Laylee you go into one of the stages of the game by jumping into a book. Well, then how do you get back to the hub world? You jump back into another book. So do you think that the hub world, which notice they never refer to as the real world or anything, Ivory Towers is the hub, not the real world. Do you think that's also in a book? And you know, this can still, I think this still fits into the Donkey Kong universe. Hear me out, because where else have we seen books before? In the Donkey Kong game, the first thing I go to is the haunted library in Creek Castle or whatever in DK64. So I think, much like the snow globe in that kids' hospital where all those sitcoms take place or whatever, I think Yooka-Laylee is all taking place inside the library in Donkey Kong 64. What do you think? All right, have a nice day. Bye.
Thanks, Rob. Well, for your first point, the whole idea that there are multiple ways to get pages and that you can sometimes break the game. Your example was actually what I was thinking when I was getting the same pagey when Malik, I don't know, when you were trying to get the pagey that was under the cage that lowered whenever there would be splashing. How did you get that pagey? Did you just go up, just like jump up on the wall and walk over to it?
Wait, pagey that was...
It was in the cage that would lower whenever you would like touch the water. And so you would have to get to the cage with after you hit this, or without actually like touching the plank in the water. And so what I did was I just jumped right up on the rock wall and I walked over to it, no problem, which is what Rob did.
No, I think I did it the conventional way.
What is the conventional way? Rob and I are both confused.
You know, I can't remember off the top of my head, but...
Oh, come on.
Ugh, I'm sorry. I don't know. Like, if I had known that I could have just done that, that would have been a lot easier. Okay, well, that's like Rob's a bit unsure about, because he's run into that kind of thing a few times, as have I, and something I talked about on the World 1 discussion with Cameron, and I think I like it in some ways, and in some ways I don't. I like that in Yooka-Laylee, it's kind of more of a... In some ways, it feels more realistic. There would be multiple ways to approach getting a pagey. There's the conventional way, but then, you can also just like climb up on a wall here and figure out a path. And the whole idea that you can like climb like a lot of the walls that you would never have been able to climb in the N64 era. That's kind of what's throwing me. And I don't know if I'm like actually breaking a game or if it was designed with this in mind. And part of me really likes it because it feels like if this was the real world, there would be more than one way to approach a puzzle like this. But it also feels like, no, this isn't what the game designers intended. I feel like I'm cheating, even if I'm but if I'm doing this, then that's just poor design on their part. So what does it matter? So I don't really know how I feel about it. I'm of two minds. Well, sequence breaking, that's the official term for it. I learned that like a couple weeks ago. Okay. That happens a lot in a lot of like 3D platformers and a lot of other games in general. And for the most part, I actually do like that because it could just get things done a lot easier. Like in Banjo-Tooie, I remember like in the mine shaft in Glitter Gulch Mine, where it's just so dark you can't even see a thing down there. You're supposed to use the fire eggs and then just follow the trail so you don't fall off of like the little wooden beams. But if you're really good, you can just like sneak really carefully in the dark and then just get the jiggy that way. So
Yeah.
I've always liked that. Like how there's multiple different approaches to the game, and sometimes I feel a little dirty for doing something I shouldn't have done in a certain way, but at the end of the day I'm just like, screw it. I got the pagey.
Yeah, I remember playing Donkey Kong 64, and this is more of an extreme case, but I remember there would be like parts in Donkey Kong 64 where, for example, I think it was Angry Aztec, where things would like glitch, and like I remember I was playing as Tiny Kong and I like accidentally went through a wall. I wasn't like it just like fell through a wall in the temple, and all of a sudden I was in a room I needed to be in, and no, okay, whatever. And like I just kind of shrug and like, okay, that happened, and I won't look at a gift horse in the mouth. I'll just do it.
And then like later on when you find out how you're supposed to do it and it's like really hard, you're like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad I didn't have to do it that way.
Yeah. So I guess it's always been with us to some extent. It just seems more pronounced in Yooka-Laylee because it's the whole like being able to climb almost any surface is still so disconcerting for us old timers from the original 64-bit era. And so yeah, I don't have an answer for you, Rob. I'm of two minds of it, and I would just lean into it. I would try to embrace it. It is what it is. It's in the game. You can do it, so why not do it? If it gives you the freedom to do it, where is the harm?
When life gives you lemons, just make the lemonade how you want to do it.
When life gives you mushrooms, make sure to destroy the rival mushroom growers' patch.
Radioactive vapor.
So his other point in a second call was his theory that because when you exit the Grand Tomes, you still go through a book. Does that mean the world of Shipwreck Creek and Hyrie Towers are in their own Grand Tome? Is the world of Yooka-Laylee just in one massive book that's therefore not even the real world? And that's like this existential kind of nightmare again. That's like the horror twist that Goosebumps never left you with when you finished them. Except like the first one where you learned like the family was dead the whole time. Or no, the whole town was dead the whole time and the dog came back and was dead.
That's
was
scary, man.
That was kind of messed up. But that was like the only time. And then there was also the Cuckoo Clock of Doom, where the kid erases his little sister from existence. That was pretty damn dark for a kid's book.
For reals?
But yeah, and that was a happy ending too. That was portrayed as a happy ending. His annoying little sister never existed. It was kind of like, I'm an only child. I never had a sibling, and even I realized that was fucked up. R.L. Stine. That's
messed up, man.
Anyway, you know what? My initial reaction was to recoil in terror at your suggestion, but if that was an ultimate reveal, and no spoilers, I haven't beaten the game, but if that was ultimately revealed in either the ending of Yooka-Laylee or in a subsequent game, I could roll with it, especially, if the book was in the Rare Archipelago somewhere. Ultimately, I would like Shipwreck Creek and the landmass that is Shipwreck Creek and Hyrie Towers, whatever island that takes place on, because it has to take place on an island, to be somewhere in the Rare Archipelago, off on its own corner that can be devoted to Platonic games. Because, I'm trying to respect the autonomy of Platonic games. Even though we acknowledge them as taking place in the same shared universe, we will acknowledge that Platonic has its own corner for a Platonic shared universe. But
what if the book is actually like in Grabbed by the Ghoulies? You know how the game starts off with like a bunch of different books?
Yeah. Yeah, his theory was it was in Creepy Castle in the library. But could be Ghoulhaven Hall or Gruntilda's Lair, wherever we've seen books in a magical setting. It would be fair game. But what do you think, Malik? How do you feel about that theory? You've played further in the game, so again, no spoilers, but would that, if that was an ultimate reveal somewhere down the line, would you be happy with that?
The theory that Yooka-Laylee takes place in just one big book?
It's inside of its own grand tome, Saint Elsewhere style. It actually takes place in its own book. Yooka-Laylee are actually book characters. They just don't realize it.
Ooh, it's sort of like this Winnie the Pooh. I'm getting this Winnie the Pooh kind of thing from it, you know? Like how all the stories of Winnie the Pooh just took place in a book. Like if you ever saw...
No, I didn't. I thought it was just like they were Christopher Robin's like imaginary characters.
It's weird. That's kind of weird too, because it's like Winnie the Pooh, like all the stories that I've seen like in animated form, they all take place in like this book, and like the transitions are it coming out of the book, flipping it to another page, and yeah, I'm kind of getting that vibe with Yooka-Laylee if it all took place in just one grand tome itself.
So wait, Christopher Robin has these imaginary characters, but Christopher Robin himself is a storybook character in a book. So there's just layers upon layers of unreality to this.
Yeah, I suppose so. That actually did kind of mess with my head, because there was always that bit where it was like, yeah, Christopher Robin, these toys aren't real, but we only ever see them as animated characters, sentient characters in the books themselves. What's real and what's not real? I don't know.
Well, I know that we're real, Malik. I mean, I assume we're real. We might just be characters in a larger podcast. Who's to say? But before we end on that cuckoo clock of doom style twist, let's give our final thoughts on Moodymaze Marsh. You start.
Okay, so Moodymaze Marsh, not Marsh. It was... I just really liked how it was such a breath of fresh air, or it's kind of ironic because you don't get fresh air from a swamp, do you?
And so many characters are complaining during the course of the world how many places or things stink.
Yeah, and it's like, it's ironic in how Moodymaze Marsh was the most uplifting, least confusing place of the first 3 worlds that I went through. And like, in worlds 1 and 2, I wasn't really meshing with them too much, and I was really scared that I wasn't going to end up liking the game so much. Like, I didn't hate it, but it was starting to get on my nerves a little bit, and I was like, am I really going to end up liking this game? I'm going to get through it, but am I going to have fun with this? And then World 3, it brought my spirits up, man, and it was so much fun to go through. It's like, this feels like a playground that you can just go all over the place. It's not overly massive, and the boss battle was so much fun. The music in the boss fight itself. I forgot to mention that Trev the Tentacle has a wife, and that's nice to know.
Yeah.
It's like the missus. The missus is going to be upset with me.
It's possible he didn't marry a Kraken, because we know interspecies relationships are a thing. So perhaps he married a nice chipmunk, or some sort of is a swamp, so maybe some sort of toad or something. You don't know.
Yeah, you don't know, but it's nice he found somebody to share his life with. But he said it's the doghouse for him, and he lost his eye in the battle. When I laughed so hard at that, I was like, "Oh Lord, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to dislodge that. I just wanted the page."
It's got to be rough for him to watch his stories now that he doesn't have.
Well, he's got like a vision. He's got a bunch of eyes on what I'm assuming. True. He's got more tentacles, so I guess it's not a big loss for him. But anyways, the boss battle was great. The music in Kartos' section was great. I just loved all the colors and the pseudo Halloween vibe they were trying to pull off, which didn't really work, but it was still a nice effort. And yeah, it was just the perfect kind of level just to keep me going.
I did like how there was the Halloween theme, but there was no there were no ghosts or anything like overtly supernatural besides the ghost riders, of course.
Yeah, but it was just the pumpkins. It's like, okay.
Yeah. There wasn't like anything like super magical going on. It was just it's like this storybook or book that takes place around Halloween season, and so there are all these pumpkins out, and everything else is just kind of swamp based. I appreciated that, and Yeah, this was my favorite world so far. Again, I'm unspoiled as far as the rest of the game goes, but this, I felt like Yooka-Laylee started off so strong, and I was one of the ones who loved Tribal Stack Tropics. Glitter Glaze Glacier, I liked a lot of it, but it never really came together as a cohesive whole for me, and I definitely had a lot of issues with that world. But Moodymaze Marsh put all the doubts that world introduced to bed, fast asleep, took some Ambiens, and they probably overdosed, so they probably won't be waking up anytime soon. Should check that it's breathing, but you know what? If those doubts do die, we can just cash in on the insurance policy we took out on them, so it's fine.
Finally pulled through.
You mentioned Winnie the Pooh, which is apropos because I did have some milk beforehand, and my IBS is flaring up quite mightily. So I'm gonna go head out.
It's a poop joke. Oh, I get it.
It's a poop joke. I'm ending on a poop joke, Malik.
That's great, man. Just that's what people expect.
Poop.
This has been a File 2 production.
Qué rico.